So tonight we're going to be looking at European exploration, and instead of looking at the individual explorers and why they were coming over to the New World, we're going to actually look more at why they came this way. So this is kind of going to be an important overreaching thing for us to understand as we are progressing throughout our exploration unit. So the guiding question that I want you to keep in mind is, why did Europeans come to the New World? So there were three major factors that influenced exploration. First of all was the growth of trade. And you know that trade was a major source of making money before money became the big currency. So you would trade items back and forth in order to get a good that you might need. So merchants felt like they could make a fortune going to Asia to get a lot of these goods that were in demand. Spices were a big part of that. Ivory was a big part of that. So there was all this stuff in Asia that really we needed in the European areas. You also have the growth of ideas. So scholars wanted to learn about different people and different cultures from different areas of the world, because Europeans were just becoming aware of those cultures and their existence. And then finally was the Renaissance. And the Renaissance, which you talked about in 6th grade, is a time period of intellectual growth. It made people want to learn more and to have more experiences. So that led people to want to move into these new areas and to see those different cultures. So other things that led into exploration, and the 1400s was the big time period that we're talking about here. The population of Europe increased pretty dramatically. Merchants and bankers really wanted to expand their businesses as much as possible, and they wanted those wealthy Europeans to be buying goods from them. Explorers began to look for alternate routes to places like Africa and Asia and India, because that's where all of the goods were. So they wanted, originally before they were going overland to get to those areas, which was a long, very expensive process, they realized that if they used boats to get to India and Asia, that it would be a lot cheaper. And early maps were inaccurate, so that's important to keep in mind as you're trying to put yourself into that mindset of the Europeans, is that the Europeans didn't really have an idea, first of all, that North America and South America even existed. Second of all, they had no idea how expansive Africa was. And third of all, they didn't even know that the world was round for a while. There were people who had said that previously, but that was not commonly thought until much later on. So technology is going to allow for a lot of improvements in this exploration. So the first thing is the astrolabe, and that measured the position of the stars, and measuring the position of the stars allowed explorers to have a better idea of where they were and how fast they were going places. They also acquired the magnetic compass, which is the same type of compass that you might see today, especially if you're in scouting, which gives you a pretty good idea of magnetic north. So it would help with your direction significantly there. We also saw some great advances in shipbuilding, since ships were the major way of getting goods back and forth. One of the big things we saw was the stern rudder, which on most boats you see today. It's the rudder that's off the back of the ship, and the triangular sail. And the triangular sail made it possible for ships to actually sail into the wind instead of sailing against the wind. In the late 1400s, the Portuguese developed the caravel, which was a special type of ship. The caravel had both triangular sails and it had square sails, and it allowed for a greater area within the boat for trading for goods to be shipped, and it also allowed for more food and storage. So that was a huge part of getting some of those items back and forth. So the causes and effects of exploration, and this is really important for you to write down, so make sure you get this done. Causes. The Europeans obviously desired better trade routes. We have this growing power and wealth in European nations, which is going to lead for even more desire to have more money. Competition for trade, and then missionaries are going to desire to convert people to Christianity. And that can be summarized with the 3 G's, and that is gold, God, and glory. And this is not the only time you're going to hear the 3 G's. That is something that's important to understand in general. And then the effects is that the knowledge grows about other regions and other areas of the world. Obviously, the Europeans and the natives are going to clash once the Europeans arrive in the New World. Enslavement of Africans is going to be a huge effect of this exploration. We're going to start to see slaves being shipped to the New World, to both North America and South America. And then you're going to start to see rivalry growing to maintain those money-making areas within the Americas, specifically on those big plantations, which we're going to talk about some tomorrow in class. So make sure that you have a good understanding of the causes and effects of European exploration, why those Europeans wanted to come to the United States and to other areas of the New World, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.